Hey folks, it's Patriot Nurse. Are you ready for a grid down, prolonged freeze or winter storm? Well, the weather forecasts are saying that is a distinct possibility over the next 2 weeks. So I want to help get you ready. Let's get started. So friends, thanks for joining me in this video. I want to jump right in and show you the things that I would recommend that you store, things that I obviously have stored myself. And I want to go over the what, the how, and the why of preparedness for a scenario where we have prolonged severe cold and sub-zero freezing temperatures in parts of the country, potentially setting records, if not harkening back to 30 or 40 years ago in parts of the United States. So we're going to get ready. We're going to go over these things, and I want to help you check off whether or not you have these things and that you're ready for sub-zero and freezing temperatures in a grid down scenario. So the assumptions here that I'm going over are that the majority of people watching this video are not going to have a wood stove, or probably not going to have a fireplace, may not even have gas logs, and may be an entirely electrical dependent house. That's the reality for most people in the United States. So friends, let's talk about the reality of freezing temperatures for prolonged periods of time. So the weather forecast that's currently being circulated in various different models seem to be in consensus about this. Over the next week to 2 weeks in the United States, we're going to see severe temperature drops and potentially not one, but two, potentially three polar vortexes that are going to redirect extremely cold temperatures to parts of the country that are not used to that. In particular, the deep south, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and parts of Tennessee may end up seeing record temperatures, if not temperatures that had not been reached in 30, 40 years. And so for that reason, many people in the affected areas, particularly in the South, they call it the Smile Belt, from Texas all the way up to Virginia, many people are not going to have houses with pipes that are sunk deep enough into the ground to avoid freezing. They may not also have infrastructure in their houses or the insulation in their houses that is used to the cold and the extremes outside that you may see in other parts of the country, like, for instance, Minnesota, Idaho, Montana, places like that. So the reality is that we have a lot of people who could potentially face what happened in Texas with the Great Freeze just a few years ago. And that was a catastrophic failure of the electrical grid, with a lot of people having severe damage not only to their apartments but also to their homes because of the pipe issue. So the things that you see here are not only the imperatives for a grid down, but also for grid down and prolonged heat needs. So the first thing I want to cover here is the Buddy portable propane heating system. This is an indoor rated heating system with a switch off, an automatic switch off, and carbon monoxide detector. But there are still obviously rules and protocols that one needs to follow in order to safely run this, because propane, of course, and other combustible materials, they are an explosion hazard and they do need to be managed appropriately. So first, if you do not have an alternative non-electrical dependent way to heat your space, something like a propane heater that is designed for indoor usage, like the Buddy or the Big Buddy, would be an excellent purchase for you to have. And we'll have links to all these in the description box below, so that way you've got an easy click and there it is, and you can see other people's experiences as well. Also, if you had experience with these things I'm going to mention today, please leave a comment below, because other people are probably going to have experiences. And if you've, for instance, gone through severe multi-day, upwards of a week long or more experience of a power down in severe cold temperatures, how did you weather that storm? Particularly if you were in Texas, I'd be really interested to find out. You also need to have, in preparation for the grid down, you need to have a reliable way to bring light to an operating area. One of the chief areas that people really underestimate their need for light is the kitchen, because people are still going to have to eat, and kitchen preparing requires the use of sharp objects, and a lot of people end up getting wounded or hurt in food prep because their operating theater is not illuminated. So making sure to have at least 2 lanterns, and lanterns that not only run a battery power but also have a solar backup. I will put links in the description box below to the LED lanterns that I use, and I have used them successfully for years. I absolutely love them. In a couple of the models that you'll see online, and also in the ones that I'll link, there's a USB charger as well, so you can keep your phone charged. The way to properly use these is to obviously utilize the LEDs at night, but during the day to set them outside, so that way the lantern can charge with the solar panel. Another thing you're going to want to have, obviously, is an emergency weather radio that has battery power but also has an alternative backup. This is the Kato solar charging radio, and it uses the solar panel as well. And there's a backup crank And that's one of the reasons why I also like those particular lanterns right there. And I'll put links to these in the description box below, because you really like to have redundancy when it comes to a source of electricity when you do not have the grid. When it comes to heating your home, a lot of people are going to be unfortunately utilizing heat sources that involve flames, and they're not used to, for instance, using their fireplaces. They're not used to using their wood stoves. And in many cases, people will be attempting to use candles or other forms of open flame. And the risk for fires in this is very significant. If you are a firefighter or an EMT responding to things like this, put a comment in the description box below and give me your feedback on this. If you are going to have, for instance, any type of combustible source of heat or power, you need to have a fire blanket. And a fire blanket is something really that's good to have in your kitchen anyway. Like having a fire extinguisher and other methods of dealing with fires are going to be very important, God forbid, should you need it. Another thing as far as keeping people warm is pot cans. You want to make sure that you have an ability to keep your cans warm. You're also going to want to have a way to cook your food. And then again, this goes back to the use of open flame, not just for heating, but also for your activities of daily living. So I have here, this is actually a butane stove. Why butane, Patriot Nurse? Well, I have propane stoves as well. But the reason why I put the butane one in here is because oftentimes propane will sell out, but butane and the canisters will still be fairly available, even if it's not necessarily the most cost effective. It will be available where propane in many cases is gone because of supply shortages. So this is a single burner butane stove. I also have double burner propane stoves and single burner propane stoves. You're also going to want to have food that's ready, canned foods that are expedient. This is really one of the benefits of a stratified food source, not just the freeze-dried, shelf-stable, but also the canned foods that are ready to prepare and simply need to be opened and then heated up if you so desire. So having non-perishable foods that's ready to go will assist you in having a streamlined experience should the grid go down. Now let's talk about water here. So your water needs are going to be at a minimum 1 gallon per person per day in your household. There are several ways that you can accomplish this. One is with obviously stored water, such as the gallon bottles of water that you can purchase at a grocery store. There's another way that you can effectively pad your supplies, and that is potentially before you experience pipe freezes, and we'll talk about that in a second, to fill up your tubs, to fill up your bathtubs with water so that way you have water available for your needs, whether it's for washing simply or for general gray water usage, or potentially, if it is advisable, clean and potable, for you to use as a drinking source of water. Having a whole filter system like this is the big Berkey that I have here. These are going to be very valuable for you to have, but there's also smaller, like Sawyer filters as well. The thing that you need to be aware of, potentially, if you're not using your Berkeys regularly, you have to flush these filters in order for them to properly work. So your Berkeys come with these little gaskets, these little rubberized gaskets, and they're meant to go around the mouth of the filter and to be securely snugged up against your faucet, and then the pressure of your water will purge the filter. So you need to make sure that you've done that before things get going, because you don't want to be stuck in a situation where you have no pressure and you can't purge your filters and you can't filter your water. I'm interested. What lessons did you learn from the last time you had grid down experiences in cold weather? Leave me a comment below. The next thing I want to talk about specifically is the preparation in regarding to warming your whole family. If the grid is down for an extended period of time, multiple days without heat, and you do not have a reliable source of heat in your house, or you have used up your fuel supplies and you no longer have that capability. Mylar blankets, emergency blankets like what we have in the Patriot Nurse Grab and Go medical kit. These Mylar blankets are very helpful not only for insulating yourselves, but also you can use them to create improvised shelters. If you can create inside your house effectively a heat pocket with either a standard camping tent, or by using your dinner table and draping blankets over it to create effectively a little cave for you. If you can do that, then you can create warmth that will be a greater insulatory capability than other places in your house. So as far as practical implications here, that means that the drafts in that area particularly are taped up, and that you've used, for instance, saran wrap or plastic wrap over the windows in order to help trap air and to help increase the insulation, because you lose a lot of heat through windows. And especially in older houses where you don't have quality insulated windows, that's a serious heat loss and heat transfer issue. And I do want to go over the medical aspect of things. If you find yourself in a prolonged grid down, you do not want to have to go venture out for minor emergencies. If you can at all, avoid it. The emergency medical services may not be able to traverse the roads if they're treacherous, if they're icy. They may not be able to get to you. So having the capability to address and attend to your own needs at home, that's very helpful. And so we have supplies, including the Patriot Nurse Grab and Go kit that's available on the website, thepatriotnurse.com. This can help be a great part of your preparedness supply continuum. Some practical tips to consider. Number one, friends, one of the greatest risks of damage outside of fires, God forbid, caused to people's houses attempting to heat themselves is the risk of ruptured pipes and burst pipes. And we saw this obviously in Texas. But if it appears in your area that you are going to be without power for a sustained amount of time, and these temperatures outside are persistently below freezing, it may be worthwhile for you to shut off the main from your water supply and drain the pipes lest they burst and destroy your home and property. This was a real problem for a lot of people in Texas, and a lot of people lost pretty much everything because of burst pipes in situations just like this in Texas a few years ago. The last thing I want to speak about is attitude, because attitude of gratitude is a way to make it better through life and make life more of a smiling event as opposed to a frowning event, which we all could use more of. But a point here, anytime that we face hardship, it bears to keep in mind that there are blessings in each of these things. And so whether you're trying to keep your own spirits up for your family, or you're just trying to keep your own psychological edge in rough times, being thankful and every day thanking God for blessings, even in the midst of things, even whether it's a power outage or whatever, you can still thank the Lord for it. Thank you, Lord, for allowing me to go through this experience. Thank you, Lord, for this journey. Thank you for the lessons that I'm learning. You will be surprised that the discipline of gratitude will bring a multiplicity of benefit in your life, whether it's in the immediate term or the long term. Friends, I hope this video was helpful for y'all. If you enjoyed it, please share this with one person who you know needs to get prepared for cold times to come. Also, if you're enjoying the channel, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell button. That way you don't miss a video and you're sure to get the notifications that a new one's out. I hope this video was helpful for y'all, and have a very, very blessed and warm week. For now, it's Patriot Nurse signing off, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.